Do you look like a robot every time you try to record yourself? Like, as soon as the camera turns on, you just can't be yourself? If you feel awkward on camera, it's probably not because you're a bad speaker. It's probably just because you're trying to do what everyone else does, which is think your way into confidence. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you the exact three-part method that I use when I coach my clients on how to sound more natural on camera. Practice, preparation, and performance. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to focus on before you hit record, while you're recording, and then how to make each video better than the last. So you stop sounding stiff and you start sounding like yourself. And real quick, this video isn't about becoming an actor. It's about getting comfortable being yourself on camera. So this video is for anybody who has that bit of fear about being on camera, that fear of looking awkward. All right, let's start with the part that fixes 80% of this: practice. If you wanted to get stronger, you wouldn't just think about going to the gym. You wouldn't just watch a bunch of videos about lifting. You'd go lift weights. Becoming more natural on camera is the same thing. It's a learned skill. If you're not recording yourself consistently, you're not gonna get better on camera. There's just no way around practice. But this is where people get trapped. They'll record themselves once and they'll hate it, and then they won't record for a week or a month or a year. And when they finally record again, it still feels awkward because you haven't been able to practice. So you just assume, I'm not a camera person. Well, no, you're just undertrained. Practice gives you more repetition. Reps make you more comfortable. That comfort turns into confidence, and then the confidence shows up as natural. So you don't become natural on camera by thinking. You get more natural through practice. Here are some specific things that practice does for you. You stop reacting to the red record button, right? Your voice steadies, your face relaxes, you waste less time restarting, and you get better at finding words. Remember, awkward isn't a personality trait, it's just a lack of practice. Now, reps alone aren't the whole story. You can do 100 reps and still be stiff if you don't know how to practice, if you're repeating the same habits. So we want to differentiate between senseless repetition and effective practice. That senseless repetition is doing more takes but making the same mistakes. The effective practice is doing your reps, getting some feedback, and then choosing one specific adjustment. So here's a 10-minute exercise that you can do 3 times a week. First, record 60 seconds of yourself talking about one simple idea that you already know. Then watch it back one time and choose one thing to improve on it. And then record another 60 seconds fixing just that one thing. Here are some ideas of what to pick for improvement. You could pick your pacing, whether you try to slow down or add pauses for emphasis. You could pick clarity, use shorter sentences to be able to land the point that you're trying to make. You can pick energy, using your face and your voice to match the tone of what you're trying to get across. You can also pay attention to filler words. Maybe try using less filler words like ums and us and pausing instead. Or one of my favorites, eye contact. Act like the lens is the person that you're speaking to. The key rule here is that you want to choose one change per repetition. If you try to fix too many things, you'll get overwhelmed and fix nothing. So yes, you need reps, but you need the right kind of reps. Now, practice makes you comfortable, but preparation makes you clear. So let's talk about that next. You ever hit record and you know what you want to say, but then it comes out messy? Or you start out strong, but then you forget your next point, and then you circle back and you start over-explaining, and at the end you're like, why did that take 5 minutes? That's where preparation comes in. I've noticed some people prep in one of two extreme ways. They either wing it and it turns into rambling, or they write a full script immediately and it turns into that stiff, robotic delivery. And the issue is that they skip the step that creates the clarity for what you're trying to say. So what I teach my clients is to outline first. And this is not a script, and it's not just bullet points either. It's an outline that forces you to decide what are the 3 to 5 points that actually matter, what order do they go in, and what are the punchy lines that you don't want to forget? You know, if you come up with a really good line while you're thinking about this, you don't want to lose that. So here's what goes into that outline. It's your main point, or the promise of the video. It's 3 to 5 key points, the only points that you have to hit in the video. One example per point. That way you don't sound abstract. You can actually put it into words for your viewer. And any of those punchy lines that you want to remember verbatim. This outline is your source of truth. And then after you have that, you start working on your delivery format. So there's 2 delivery formats that I like to use. There's bullet points and there's a full script. Bullet points are better for natural delivery. They're better for people who sound better conversationally. They are better for anyone who gets stiff reading a script. So here's how to do bullet points without rambling. You keep it to 3 to 5 bullets per section, and under each bullet you add one example and one transition line to the next bullet. As an optional thing, you can write out the first sentence and the last sentence for the whole section. That way, the first sentence gets you rolling and the last sentence gives you a clean exit and transition to that next part. And a rule that I like to keep when I'm doing bullet points is that if you can't say what you need to say clearly off of just the bullet points, then you need a tighter outline. So if it feels a little abstract still, go back to the outline and make sure the outline is solid. The other delivery format that I like to use is a full script. The full script is great for precision. It's best for people who freeze or blank up or go in circles when they're talking, or videos where the wording really matters. For example, a sales video, or when you're talking about sensitive material or very technical material. Now here's how to not sound robotic with a script. You should write it out like you talk, first of all. Short, simple sentences. Make it sound like you. You want to highlight any of the punchy lines that you've come up with that you want to remember verbatim. Make them really easy to see. Leave some breathing room between lines. These are your planned pauses. These are places to ad-lib a sentence naturally if you think of a thought, and just general line breaks so that it's easy to follow the script and you remember the flow of what you're trying to say. And if you write out a full script, don't try to memorize it word for word. Memorization tends to make people aim for perfection, and what happens is, as soon as you miss one of those lines, you kind of freeze up because you realize you made a mistake and then you have to go back and fix it. So instead, just let yourself, if you're going to use the script, just read the script and only memorize the sections in the outline that you made. So know what's coming up next, know your main points, but don't try to memorize the entire script. So having a script can be a really good thing, especially if you can deliver it in a way that sounds natural. You just don't want to read it like a document, right? You don't want to sound robotic. So a quick workflow to copy is to come up with your outline first, that main point, figure out what that main point is, and then 3 to 5 subpoints to include in the outline. Include some tangible examples of those. Then decide whether you want to create bullet points for your delivery or you want to write a full script to follow. Then with whatever you decide at that step, read it out loud once and cut out anything that feels unnatural, that feels like it's too much, that feels like it's not relevant to the main point or the subpoints that you had in the outline. And after that, hit record and start delivering it in that format that you picked. So practice got us comfortable, preparation has made us clear, and now is the performance, and the performance makes you relatable. So you've practiced, you've prepped, you know what you're gonna talk about, you hit record, and then you watch it back and you're like, why do I still look so stiff? Or you feel totally normal while you're recording, but then you watch it back and it's like your personality just disappeared. Now we have a performance problem. So a lot of people think that performance is acting like somebody other than you. So they either avoid it completely or they try to turn it on and feel fake while doing it. But performance is really all about your delivery. Now, to make things more difficult, the camera always flattens you out. What I mean by this is that in real life, being subtle in conversation works really well, but on camera, subtle just reads as stiff. It's really difficult to get a lot of emotions through. So you end up under-expressing, rushing, or breaking connection with your viewer without realizing it. So this is what I teach my clients. First of all, stop talking to an audience. Start talking to an individual. Pick somebody you know, give them a name, and speak to that person. That person should become the person behind the lens. When you imagine you're talking to just one person, you start communicating as if it was a real conversation, because it is, right? The person watching your video on the other side of the camera is a single person. It's Joe on his break at the grocery store, or Becky who just got home from her executive job. It's a real person. So here's how to do it. Pick a specific person that you know in real life, a friend, a family member, a client, whomever. Imagine that they're curious and you're helping them understand whatever it is that you're explaining in the video. And then treat the lens of the camera like it's their eyes or the tip of their nose. I think when I talk to somebody, I look at their nose. But speak to that specific person. Try to imagine in your mind's eye that you are talking to that person. Okay, so that's part one, is speak to one person. Now, the biggest reason that people actually look stiff on the camera is because they're under-expressing. They think that they're being expressive, but the camera doesn't pick that up. So you need a little more expression than what feels normal in your body. But what does more expression actually mean? It means to change your face or your voice when you switch to a new topic. It's overexpress your core emotions, right? If you want to smile, be really happy. If you're happy, like, don't just be kind of happy, be like really happy. If you're concerned, don't just be a little concerned, be like really concerned. And if you're just so excited about something, don't just be a little bit excited. Be like extremely excited. Make your arm movements way bigger than they need to be. Even if they go out of frame, like, that's totally fine. If it feels like you're starting to be too expressive, then it's probably finally getting to be the point where it's readable on camera. So overexpress those emotions a little bit. Okay, and the third part of this has to do with slowing down and landing your points. So rushing through content is one of the biggest mistakes that people make. For some reason, when there's a spotlight on us, it feels like we're taking too long to get to the point. Let me know if this ever happens to you, like if you're sitting around in a group doing introductions and it gets to you and you just rattle off the thing that you do so fast that you can't even remember what it was that you said. I think we try to go so fast because we don't want to hold anyone up. But this comes across as less confident and less clear on video. So instead, what we should do is we should slow down just one notch at least. We should add some pauses between our sentences and especially between the big points that we want to make. So we should pause both before a key point and after a key point. And we should aim to finish our sentences cleanly and not trail off. Put that full stop at the end of the sentence, you know what I mean? You've heard slow is smooth and smooth is fast, which is super true. And in video, slow is also clear. Okay, so the last part of performance has to do with eye contact. If you want to look natural, you need connection, and that connection is made through eye contact. This is something that I've been working on too, because what I do is I have my script somewhere off camera right now. And so I've been trying to figure out what the best setup is for me to be able to read the script and then deliver that into the lens. But here are some things that you want to think about when you're trying to focus on eye contact. First, stop watching yourself. Turn the view screen on your camera, turn it around. If you're using your phone, don't use selfie mode. Don't look at yourself while you're recording. Turn it around, use the front-facing camera. Yeah, the back or the back camera, whatever, the main camera on your phone, use that. So look at the lens, not yourself. And especially look at the lens when you're saying something that really matters in your video. If you are talking about one of the main points in your video, or you are giving a call to action, or you're introducing something really important, make sure that those lines especially are delivered straight into the lens. Those are the lines that you might want to read off of your bullet points or your script, and then immediately turn to the lens and deliver it. And it's okay if you have to cut around it, but deliver those lines, those important lines, into the lens. And it's okay to glance at your notes and then come right back to the lens, right? I do this all the time. I have my notes right here right now, and so I'll glance at my notes and then back at the lens. And I've realized I kind of like having the notes off to the right side of the camera or your left. When I'm looking at my notes, it's almost like I'm thinking about something, and then I come back to the lens. So that's what I do. Anyway, to recap on performance, here are the things that I want you to think about when you're recording. Talk to one person, talk one notch more slowly, be one notch more expressive, and keep that eye contact with the lens as much as you can, especially on the important parts. And that's it. Keep it simple, keep it effective. So that's the full method. Practice gets you comfortable, preparation makes you clearer, and then performance makes you relatable. And when all three are working together, you finally stop fighting the camera and start sounding like yourself again. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. And check out this video to learn about how to have the right mindset when you're making videos for YouTube. I'll see you there.